Hello, this is Anna Imagination. We are going to focus on this video on self-honesty. Every time anyone goes into therapy or dabbles into psychology, we confront this concept almost right away, referring to you have to be honest with yourself. And very few people sit down and actually talk about what that means. So in this video, we're going to really dive deep into what that means. So, self-honesty, what it means. Specifically, what it feels like. Take a deep breath in. We're going to meditate for a minute. Deep breath in and out. There is an emotion called cognitive dissonance. This emotion is never talked about, and I don't know why. I do not understand why. It is the core emotion of all negative emotion. All emotion, all emotional suffering, all of emotional pain, all mental disorders stem from the emotion cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the emotion of dichotomy. It is the emotion of contradiction. Of all the emotions, it is the most important emotion. It is the most invalidated emotion. It is the most overlooked emotion. Cognitive dissonance is the emotion of contradiction. Now, when you speak a lie, there is an emotion that you have inside of your chest. And that emotion is the feeling of contradiction or the feeling of cognitive dissonance. If you ever told a lie as a child and then you have guilt, proper guilt, when you feel the contradiction is actually, I need to clarify because I just did a whole video on the subconscious mind and guilt, and really it was shame that I was talking about. But so few people, shame is such a rare emotion now. I need to say that guilt is such a rare emotion now that what we call guilt is actually shame, and people don't feel what actual guilt really is, because shame is such a huge emotion that's taken over. So now, to say shame, people don't quite understand what that means. To say guilt, people are thinking about the emotion shame. So for clarity, I'm going to call guilt what everyone associates it with, which is actually shame. And there's actually a self-guilt. Let's call it self-guilt. And because the emotion that people all associate with guilt isn't actually guilt at all, but it's already embedded into all of our psyche so deeply that it would be more confusing if I try and correct it. It's like the vocabulary words anti-inflammatory, or what is it? Flammable. We all think flammable means going up in flames, and it actually means putting out the flames or something to that effect. It means flame retardant. That's what it means. But we have such that misnomer that now our society believes it means the opposite. So guilt is very much the same thing. What we think is guilt actually is not the emotion guilt. So when you tell a lie and you feel that discomfort inside of you, that's actually guilt. That is really guilt. It is the feeling of contradiction. It is cognitive dissonance, because you have your belief and you have your perspective, and you've told a lie, which is actually telling an untruth. It's telling a different perspective that contradicts your belief and your perspective. And that grows. And the longer you go not telling the truth, the worse you feel. That is the feeling of contradiction. That is the feeling of cognitive dissonance. That is the feeling of guilt. And you finally break down and you confess, I lied. That's not what happens. And then you feel relief. That is because you validated your truth by reversing the contradiction, by reversing the cognitive dissonance. So we all know what it feels like when we tell a lie. When you are not being honest with yourself, you have the same emotion take place. When you say bullshit and you have that feeling of, that's not true. And that's just it. That's it. The emotion literally speaks and says, that's not true. But we tune it out. And we keep tuning it out. And we've become desensitized to that voice, to that feeling. That's not true. So when you are doing self-care, when you are doing shadow work, when you are focusing on looking inward, and when you are journeying through the self, you are going to have moments where you're shouting out a whole lot of exploratory dialogue. You're saying a whole lot of stuff. And you're going to say something that is bullshit. And you're going to get the feeling right here. And it's going to be that voice going, that's not true. Don't ignore it. It's really important that you listen to that voice now. Because you can bullshit a therapist all you want. No, you can't. We know. The good ones know. It's all about you. All we are is a compass. It's all about you and your relationship to yourself. So when you bullshit yourself and you feel that feeling right there, be honest and say, I know that's not true and I don't want to look at it. There you go. Now you can say that. That is your out. I'm not ready to look at that yet. Say that. Get in the habit of saying that. That's what you need. If you need your safety and if you need the time to wait to get to it, okay. Say, I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Okay. Absolutely. That's fine. That's a boundary. That's healthy. But don't ignore it. But don't lie. Be honest with yourself. I've done it. Oh my God, have I done it so many times. I'll be in the middle of one of my girlfriend rants. I'll be on the phone with one of my girlfriends and I'll be blah, 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 blah. And I'll say something. I'll be like, and I know that's freaking bullshit and I'm lying to myself right now. I am lying to myself. And there it is. When you feel that feeling of guilt, when you feel that right there and that voice says, that's not true. That is your red flag. That is your big X marks the spot. That's the problem. And that's where you need to look. So when we walk into a session and you're given that whole, you need to be honest with yourself. I can't help you if you're not honest with yourself and all that bullshit. That is what we're talking about. We are referring to that feeling right there in your chest that says, that's not true. That is what we're looking at. That is 100% what you're looking for. So when you feel that, when it arises, that is your cue. That is your red flag to stop everything, step back, and it's time to be honest. Because if you keep repeating bullshit, you're just feeding the subconscious mind and it's sabotage, because that's what it's doing. That is it right there. Your identity is that voice. That is identity going, what are you doing? That's not true. That is your defense system saying, that's not true. And it's so quiet because it's been shoved down so deep. Because the subconscious mind has its own program that it's trying to run. And that program is supposed to keep you safe. So now we're back to the, are you trying to keep yourself safe? Do we need to talk to the subconscious mind more about that? Because identity's defense system is going, that's not true. And this is about reviving identity and the defense system. And when those two speak, it's time to listen. Because that is where all the inner healing work is with those two. That's it. It is 100% with those two. So if you need help with this more, I'm available. If you need me to elaborate on any of these videos, if you want to say, hey, can we go back and explore and dig into that a little bit more? Absolutely. If you want to do Q&A or one-on-one, I'm available. And if I get more than 3 requests, you're getting a full video on it. And that'll probably be added. So if there's something that comes up where you need more elaboration, absolutely flag me down and we'll rip it apart. But really, that's it. So on the other video that I just did on the subconscious mind sabotage, guilt, it was actually shame. The whole thing was actually shame. But we have such a miscomprehension of what guilt and shame are that shame kind of gets thrown out the window and guilt is left there. So that should cover everything as far as self-honesty. So thank you so much. And we will continue class tomorrow. Thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.